Well, welcome back to Two Guys in the Outdoors. Today we're going to talk about if you could only have one firearm or one gun, what would it be?
Yeah, and we get asked that question a lot because we deal with new hunters and inexperienced hunters and we what caliber, what firearm, and so we're gonna share. If I could only own one firearm, or if I have a brand new hunter come to me and they say, what should I buy? My recommendation to them is going to be a 12 gauge shotgun. All right.
This here is a 12 gauge pump, right?
And this is a 12 gauge Browning pump BPS, and it's chambered in 3.5 inch. So let's talk about we'll get there, but let's talk about why. And you agree with me? This would be your choice, and this is why. A modern pump shotgun. And it doesn't have to be a pump. It could be a single shot. It could be an auto loading.
But let's talk about that a minute. So you got your pump, you got your auto, you got your over-unders. The pump is usually the one that's on the cheaper side, okay? So especially in Browning, okay? But if you look at any of them, the pump is going to be a little bit less expensive than the semi-auto, right? And even a lot of the better over and unders.
Yeah. And my first ever firearm was a single shot H&R 12 gauge.
Okay.
It was my first ever firearm.
Mine was an old 12 gauge JC Higgins pump.
There you go. So you was 2 steps above me. Because you at least had a...
I had 3.
You had an auto... Yeah, you had a
I had a pump. Yeah.
So let's talk about why a 12 gauge shotgun. Okay. Number one, and most important, is I can hunt any wildlife in Virginia with a 12 gauge shotgun. I can hunt squirrel and rabbit and quail and dove and turkeys and deer and bear. So I can harvest everything from the smallest of game to the largest of game with one firearm.
Now we have elk now in Virginia.
And this would harvest any North American big game
That's
animal.
what I was going to say.
Yeah.
Now, would I go up against a bear with one of those?
I wouldn't heartbeat.
I'm a grizzly bear.
With the right load. With this load right here. All right. This is a 2 3/4 slug.
Yep.
All right. That right there would harvest any big game animal in North America, even a grizzly bear.
There you go.
With confidence, within reasonable range. So I would carry this firearm anywhere. Very versatile, wouldn't you agree?
Oh yeah.
And most of your modern shotguns, you can put all kinds of optics, sights.
Yep.
You can do just about anything as far as to help. You can put a scope on a shotgun. You can put red dots. You can put adjustable rifle sights on them. It's endless.
Matter of fact, I've got a Remington 870. I think I picked it up for a couple $100, brand new.
Yeah.
It's a good gun, right? So just a few $100, 12 gauge, and I've got a red dot on that.
Yeah.
So it's cheap, and you can add all kinds of accessories too.
Absolutely. And so if I could only own one firearm, it would be a 12 gauge shotgun. And it can be a a single shot all the way up to an auto loading.
Now with me, I would probably recommend the pump, simply because, in my opinion, there's a lot less mechanics from the semi-auto.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's just, just a straight
You just
pull. That's it. It's purely mechanical, where the semi-auto, if your shell's not quite right or you don't get the proper gases,
you can have some cycling issues.
So you could have some problems, but generally, as long as you take care of your gun and you work the actions and you lube and all that stuff, it's a purely mechanical device.
And it works well.
Yeah, it does. And that's why, if you think back, for a long time since we've had shotguns, the farmer, the rancher, they always had a shotgun.
I think back to, my ancestors, my great grandfather, they're not like me. They don't have
a wide range, an arsenal.
Yeah, they don't have an arsenal. They don't have a large, times were harder then.
Mm-hmm.
They were much more simpler people. And, they basically had one firearm. My great-grandfather, he basically had two firearms. One was a shotgun and one was a .22 rifle. And I'll tell you what the .22 rifle was used for most of the time, and that was during butchering time. We harvest our livestock for butchering.
Yep.
That's what they used the .22 for, believe it or not. But the shotgun was used for their hunting.
Yeah, my grandpa, he was out west all the time, muley hunting and elk hunting, and we lived in Illinois at the time. And that's all he had, a Winchester 12-gauge pump.
Mm-hmm.
That's what he took hunting every year.
Yeah. So let's talk about why this is our choice. All right. Number one, a 12-gauge. The ammunition is readily available.
The 12 gauge is probably the most popular gauge for the shotgun world.
Yeah. It's that go-to gauge.
Mm-hmm.
You've got 410 all the way up to a 10 gauge. But the 12 gauge is on that larger side, and you've got that wide variety of ammunition. So, and I've got some ammunition here that we can look at. This shotgun is chambered in 2 3/4 all the way up to 3.5 inch. And so what that means is this is a 2 3/4. This is a field load, so this would be number 9 shot, which would be good for shooting birds, dove, quail, things like that. Even squirrel, you can hunt squirrel with number 9s. I would go a little bit larger, like a number 6, for like rabbit and squirrel, but number 9s are capable of doing that. And then you can go all the way up to a 3.5 inch. Now I'll hold my hand, you can see the length difference in these. And then you've got a 3-inch shell that I don't have one right here in front of us, but so everything from a 2 3/4 all the way up to a 3.5 inch shell. And this is a turkey load. This would be, number 4s and 5s. It's got quite the payload of shot in here. And the reason they're called shotguns is because they throw for a number 9, 2 3/4 ounce, you're throwing hundreds of tiny pellets downrange.
BBs.
Yeah, little bitty. Yeah.
They're lead BBs.
Yep. And then the shot size, the larger the number. So, for an example, a number 9 is a really, really small BB.
Yep.
And then you get up to, number 4s and 5s for, turkeys and larger game. Those BBs get larger. All right. Then here we've got what's called a buckshot. And I'll hold this box up here. I don't know if y'all can see that, but it is a 2 3/4 double aught buck. So it's got several 30 caliber balls.
They're more like small marbles.
Yeah. And the reason it's called buckshot is because, it's capable of taking large game such as deer. Mm-hmm. And then we can go to a slug. And so I'll hold this box up here. This is a 12 gauge, 2 3/4, and it is a 1 ounce lead. Yeah, it's got a 1 ounce lead slug in the end of it, so it's like shooting a rifle.
Yeah,
a very big rifle.
Which now with a lot of the modern shotguns, you can get a rifled barrel.
Yeah.
For a shotgun, which now you put a scope on it, and you got a rifled barrel, and you got a slug. You're shooting
200 yards.
Yeah, you're shooting a rifle.
Yeah, you're shooting a rifle. So, like we said, we can shoot doves all the way up to our elk size animal here in Virginia with one firearm.
With one firearm.
And for a new hunter that is just learning and they're maybe looking at purchasing their first ever firearm, this is our opinion, right?
Yeah, it's just opinions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It would be a 12 gauge shotgun.
Yeah.
I mean, in our mind, it's kind of a no-brainer, right? Because, right here in front of us, we've got 4 different ammunitions.
Yep.
4 different shells, and we can harvest anything in North America with these 4 shells.
And then you can also go, play around with sporting clays with that too.
Yeah. Shoot clays, clay targets.
So there's all kinds of things you can do with a shotgun. So going back to that question, if you could only have one, you only had one space on your gun cabinet.
Well, you can only afford one.
You can only afford one, which I've been there before.
We all have.
Right?
Yeah.
So my choice would be this.
Yeah.
Because, you think of it a different way. If I go out and buy a 30 caliber rifle, well, now I can't go squirrel hunt. You're not going to go blow a squirrel up with 308.
You can't hunt dove.
Can't hunt dove. I can't hunt waterfowl. I can't hunt pheasant or quail.
That's right.
Rabbit. And basically, all I'm going to be doing with that is deer, bear, and elk.
Yep. So, and you brought up waterfowl. I don't have a waterfowl load here because in Virginia we got to use a non-lead for waterfowl. But there's a large variety of bismuth and tungsten and steel shot out there that we can use for not only waterfowl, but you can use it for other game as well.
And that's a good point. Kate brought that up a little bit in our last campfire.
The one I missed.
Yeah, that's all right. But she was saying, and I know this, England's already doing it. You can't use lead shot over in England. Okay, everything's got to be a non-lead. Okay, there's places in the U.S. that are starting to move that. I think it's more out west than it is here on the East Coast. But I would, and she said the same thing, I would imagine within 5-10 years,
it's coming.
The lead's going to be out, and we're going to have to use other things than lead.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So
but anyway,
yeah. So and another thing, I'm gonna point this firearm at our audience. It's not loaded.
Oh no!
But if you can look,
see the two grooves.
You know, this shotgun has choke tubes, and I should have brought a choke tube up here with us.
Here, hold it. You want to go look?
Yeah, I've got some.
So choke tubes go on the end. Okay. Now on this shotgun, they're inside. You'll see some of them, like my shotguns, they stick out and get a little bit of an air brake. Okay. But these are internal. And then some shotguns don't have any chokes. Okay. And you're just at the mercy of whatever that barrel is. Yeah. And you can get them barreled in full choke, you know, all the way up.
I would purchase a shotgun where you can, which most of them are.
Most of them are. It's more into the higher end specialty shotguns.
But you know, here now this is for a 410 shotgun that I have, but you see that there's 3 different choke tubes and there's a wrench here for removing. And what these choke tubes do is they change the restriction for shooting shot. Mm-hmm. And most of them, you've got a full choke all the way up to an improved cylinder, and that improved cylinder is throws a larger shot pattern, and I think it's based on 30 yards. We'll find out.
It's it's between 20 and 40.
Yeah, it's so many shot, or it's like a 30-inch circle at 30 yards or whatever it is.
So many pellets has to make impact within that circle.
But anyway, you can see these different choke tubes here, and you identify them. Some chokes, they're written on there. Some just have marks on the end of the choke to identify them. But that's so you can change the restriction. You can shoot a much tighter pattern for further shots, or you can shoot a much larger pattern for moving game such as waterfowl and doves, you know, game that flies.
So like for turkey hunting, you're going to have something that's really choked down.
Yeah, because we want to,
because you're aiming at a place about like that big around.
Absolutely. So that's what makes a shotgun so versatile. Mm-hmm. One firearm can do everything. You know? And we're talking...
Now, one shotgun in particular to this gauge. We're talking 12 gauge.
Yeah.
You get down 20 gauge, or like what he said with the 410, then you're going to be restricted there too. And on the other side, you get higher than 12 gauge, you're going to start getting restricted with the more bigger game. So the 12 gauge, that's what makes it more versatile, because you can shoot anything, okay, with the different types of shells.
Yep. Okay. So that, again, that's what makes them so versatile. So we just put it out there that if you and I could only own one firearm, it would be a 12 gauge shotgun.
It'd be a 12 gauge. And me personally, it'd be a 12 gauge pump.
Absolutely.
Because I can have 3 in 1, and it's all mechanical. That's I don't have to worry about the gas.
So let's talk about some Virginia laws. So shotguns they're plugged. So if I would take this apart, and inside of here is if I can get it out, is a plug. All right. So hunting big game, well, let me rephrase that. I can take this plug out, and now my shotgun will hold more than 3 shells. And I can hunt anything but a migratory bird. I can hunt squirrel, I can hunt rabbit, I can hunt turkey, I can hunt deer, and I can hunt bear. And my shotgun can hold more than 3 shells. Our recommendation is to leave this in here. So now my shotgun can only hold 3 rounds. That's 2 in the magazine and 1 in the chamber. Now I'm legal for everything. So now I can hunt duck and dove and goose and all that stuff, and I'm totally legal.
So, okay, maybe I just learned something. So the legal thing is to only have 3 shells complete.
Complete.
Okay.
So
I'll
now
check
if
that one.
I'm hunting deer and a conservation police officer comes by, he's gonna you know, he won't, if I'm hunting deer, he's not gonna check. But if I'm hunting duck or dove, then he's probably going to ask me for that 4th shell, and he's going to make sure that that 4th shell won't go in here, because by law I can only have 3 shells. My firearm can only hold 3 shells.
To include 1 in the chamber.
Want to include 1 in the chamber.
Okay. Learn something new every day.
So our recommendation is keep that plug in there, and now I'm totally legal to hunt anything in Virginia.
So, with that being said, hopefully you picked up a few nuggets on that. Like Jason said several times, this is our opinion, but we tried to show you how versatile a 12-gauge pump, a 12-gauge shotgun can be. Okay, and hopefully that helps you out in your selection as a new hunter trying to figure out, what do I do now? Okay, so with that, I'm going to sign off and say, get out in the outdoors unless you're like me, fighting hay fever.
There you go. And like I always say, you know, keep it simple. Just go hunting. See y'all.
See ya. Thank you for watching, and please subscribe, comment, like, and share this video with others.